Hey guys, so I thought I would make a video blog because I know that this seems to be easier for some people, and now that I have the ability to talk again, I thought I would go ahead and do this this time just because I know some people don't really like sitting and reading the blog posts, so I thought I would do a video. So if you're busy doing something or whatever, you can just tune in and listen. So it has been 3 months since I started my journey with my G-tube, and really focusing on healing my body and getting better. Even if it didn't work, I was hopeful that this was going to be the tool I've needed all along. I didn't have anything to lose by trying to do this at this point. So before the really dangerously low potassium, I was diagnosed with severe gastroparesis, and if you don't know what that is, it is when your stomach is paralyzed. I was also diagnosed with superior mesenteric artery syndrome, and that is when you have a compression to your duodenum, so things can't pass to your small intestines. So I had a blockage and my stomach is paralyzed. And this was both diagnosed before my potassium became dangerously low. So my stomach was already not working very great, and my intestines were already slow. They've been slow for a long time now, and so that was already an issue. As I'm learning more about hypokalemia, I have found myself questioning the damages it's caused to my body, and if I'll ever regain what I've lost. My lungs are already so much stronger, so you can tell because I'm talking and I no longer need the trach, which is amazing. But I can't help but think about how else hypokalemia destroyed my body in the process of over 2 years. My swallow, a lot of you who have been following my journey this year or beginning of this year, I had another swallow study done, and my swallow was really messed up, which is why I was fighting for the G-tube as well. It's been a very long process. So my swallow became really weak and I wasn't able to swallow properly, which was also a big issue. So in the beginning of getting my G-tube, I had to be very careful about consuming things. So I started really, really slowly and kind of built up to more solid things. But my swallow is getting better. Well, it has gotten better. So that's also another thing that I've kind of regained since getting my G-tube. So due to the hypokalemia, I do suspect that my gastroparesis had become a lot worse than previously so, and that it also had a very devastating impact on my intestines. And I think that my intestines were also shutting down because of the hypokalemia. And believe it or not, hypokalemia can cause intestinal paralysis. So I guess let that sink in a little bit. But I do believe now that the hypokalemia caused my intestines to shut down, maybe even causing partial paralysis to them as well, which probably led to them not being able to absorb the nutrition that I was taking in, which didn't help the potassium at all because I wasn't absorbing it for a while. Let me see. I wrote little notes, so I'm following them. So excuse me. So I almost died because of my potassium being so severely low and for so long causing my lungs to fail as an overall result. Luckily, and I am very lucky that my heart remained strong during all of this. So hypokalemia is known to affect the heart more so than the lungs, but hypokalemia can cause respiratory failure like it did with me. But I was very, very fortunate to not have heart damage or a heart attack or a stroke or anything heart related. Though I was very adamant on going and seeing a new cardiologist during all of this because your lungs and your heart and everything kind of works in unison together. So yeah, so I did go see a cardiologist. My heart was relatively fine. There was really no evidence that, you know, anything wrong was going on at the time, so that was good. Yeah, so along with the respiratory failure, my kidneys, lungs, and other muscle functions were growing weak and also failing. So my body overall, due to the hypokalemia, was failing together. So yeah, these last 2 years were beyond painful, and it's awful now to think so much of what I endured could have been prevented. No one should have to go through this. And I hear a lot of times that people who have low potassium are dismissed by medical professionals, doctors, whoever they're seeing, kind of just brush it off as being, you know, not a big deal. And let me just say that hypokalemia, anything considered low potassium, which is I think like below a 3.0, should be checked, should be managed. Because if it drops any lower than that, it is severe and it can have devastating effects by that. So yes, I recommend learning about the symptoms of low potassium. Generally, people do not take in enough potassium in their daily diet. So yeah, it's a good thing to have routinely checked by your physician. So currently right now I am focusing on nourishing my body and healing. Hopefully I can slowly regain the muscle function I lost, as well as strengthening the muscles with time. My core was strong before all this went down, and now I need assistance sitting up from laying down. I still have chronic pain, but we'll say that it's not as terrible as it was a few months ago. Yes, I do still use a wheelchair, so you'll probably see me in pictures still using it, and that's due to POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So pretty much when I'm standing, my blood pressure will kind of tank and my heart rate will spike, but I have like an atypical version of it, so these things happen at very random times, so it's not just when I stand up that this happens. So I black out. I have snapping hip syndrome, which causes my knees to give out randomly, and then as well as just chronic pain and other things that cause me to use a chair because it's just a lot easier, and the risk of fainting and all that is decreased by using my chair. But I am working to build up my strength in my arms again because I lost a lot of that during all of this. So I probably won't use my power chair as much as I was before, but I'll probably use it kind of on more longer trips where I have to use like my arms to propel a lot more, whereas, you know, the power chair kind of takes the strain off of my upper body. So right now I am more focused on nutrition and maintaining my potassium levels while also gaining weight and recovering from the damage my body went through. Everything else will be worked on slowly as I don't want to work my body too much too fast, as that can also pose a lot of issues and higher risk for injury. So I am currently in the process of working on numerous blog posts and kind of breaking things down into categories of what I want to talk about. There's just so much that I want to touch on, but I don't want to touch on everything at once and kind of overload everybody with information and everything that I'm going through or experiencing. But this is kind of where I'm at right now with the hypokalemia and kind of what it's done. As many people know that I do have a paralyzed pelvic floor. I don't know if that was caused by the hypokalemia, as I haven't regained any function yet from that. So I don't know if it's just going to take longer to regain that, or if it's just always going to be that way. I know a lot of people have asked me about the colostomy and stuff. If I were to ever regain muscle function in my pelvic floor, no, I will not be getting my colostomy reversed. And that's because I spent most of my life dealing with chronic constipation. And honestly, if I were to get it reversed, I would probably more likely have to deal with that again. And that's not something I really want to do. As now with the colostomy, I now can... I now have like a feel of when I regularly go, like I have a schedule when I go, as well as when my stoma is most active during the day. So it's kind of more predictable now. And now I have a good schedule of going versus before, and I could go like weeks or months without ever going. And the medications for chronic constipation just honestly doesn't work for me. So this does. So no, I will not be getting the colostomy reversed if ever I do regain my pelvic floor function in the future. But yes, so this is where I am with the hypokalemia and what I'm doing currently with everything. But yeah, I think I touched base on everything. Everything is progressing forward and things are getting better. I'm just working on, getting my weight back up because I'm still severely underweight. So that is an issue still, but, at least my potassium is up and it seems like my body is absorbing it a little bit better. Maybe not so much from like food sources, but it seems like liquid versions, like, Pedialyte or, like sports drinks, Body Armor is something that I constantly drink now. That seems to be okay. Like I seem to be absorbing that now versus in the past when I would put like Pedialyte or anything in my J tube, I wasn't absorbing anything. To touch base on the potassium and hypokalemia, when I got my trach put in, my levels were a 2.4, and then they put high doses of potassium into my J tube. And the next day when they checked me, it was a 2.6. So that was very obvious signs that my body was not absorbing the potassium, in which I refused after that because I was just like, there's no use putting it in through my tube. It burns, it hurts. So I just refused it after that point. And then they realized that, obviously high doses of potassium don't change my potassium levels. So that was the first real time medically that I was able to document that I was not absorbing potassium as I should have been. So now here we are. After getting the G tube, the process that I went through was I slowly started with liquids. I was still choking. I had to vent a lot of times and drain my stomach because it was just too much at one time, and I really couldn't hold but so much in my stomach. Gradually over time, that went from liquids to kind of like thicker liquids or like pureed foods, I guess, which led to me consuming more foods kind of slowly, kind of like how it's like infants, like when you're feeding them, you kind of start with like single foods and kind of work your way up. That's kind of what I did. I started with broth and then kind of moved up to like pureed whatever, and then I would try like a version of like that solid, and then I kind of worked up from there. Smoothies are still a no. There's still a lot of things that I can't really consume because my stomach doesn't digest them, which means if my stomach isn't digesting it and my intestines aren't doing what they need to do, it becomes a blockage risk for the colostomy, which is a no-go. So I have to work on different things and like what works for me and everything else, but at least we know that I can absorb potassium in certain ways, like through drinks and stuff. So that's good. Progress is progress. We're moving up. got the trach removed. So yeah, you know, we'll see how things go from here. But yeah, in my next update, I hope to do one on kind of how the removal of the trach was in the process of healing from that. And then just other posts from off of these posts. So yeah, so just stay tuned. I really appreciate everybody's support and following me and everything else. But yeah, you know, I can't do it without the support, and I'm really thankful for the amount of support that I have. You guys are absolutely amazing. So thank you so, so much. All right, I will see you in my next post. Bye.